This is the 2023 Federal Congress of the Democratic Alliance. Only a strong DA can uphold the values of freedom, fairness, opportunity, and diversity. A strong DA to build a better future. Welcome to the Democratic Alliance's Federal Congress.
Democrats, a very warm welcome to our second broadcast, coming to you live from the economic hub of South Africa, Johannesburg. Welcome to those who are joining us for the first time today. Where have you been? You have a lot to look forward to. What a day it's been so far, right, Regan?
That's right, Nasli. We've had an exciting opening ceremony with special guest entertainers, and now, this afternoon, we will be hearing some compelling speeches from the candidates who are standing for the position of DA Federal Leader. Don't forget to keep liking, sharing, and commenting to make sure that you are using the hashtag DA Congress 2023.
Welcome back to Studio Cabello and my favorite TikToker citizen, Carly. And welcome to Greg Crumbrock, the presiding officer of Congress, and of course the DA's chief whip in Parliament, and also my boss, Siviwe Kwakube. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Siv, I'll go into you first. For those that may be joining us for the first time today, can you tell us what is Congress and why are we so excited about it?
Yeah, I think so. Congress is very important. As we had indicated earlier, we try and have Congress every 3 years. The reason for that is because it's important as Democrats that we exercise internal democracy in our own organization. We can't sell ourselves being a democratic party to South Africans if we ourselves don't practice internal democracy. We also want to make sure that the members of the Democratic Alliance are voting for a leadership that they have confidence in, and that leadership is held accountable against the promises that they make to the delegates who are voting here today. So you'll recall that the last time we had a Congress was in 2020, and now we are having a Congress again in 2023. We're going to hear from some of the federal leader hopefuls. We're also going to hear from the federal leader incumbent on what has been happening over the past 3 years. It's a great accountability mechanism, but also it signifies that we, as the Democratic Alliance, care about internal democracy as much as we care about our country's democracy.
Saviwe, you mentioned we are going to hear from the hopefuls. Are you able to share what we potentially could expect from them?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the benefit of the viewers at home, the candidates that are running for federal leader have had a full-on debate. I think in the last week or so. And they were able to engage with delegates. They were able to speak to the delegates. There are over 2,000 delegates. Delegates were able to pose questions to them. So there's been this really rigorous and robust practice within the party where delegates are able to question the candidates. You know, what are you offering? What is your offer? What is your view on this? Where the party should be going? Particularly as we head towards 2024, an incredibly important election for the party. So we've got to make sure that from branch level, whether it's your ward councillor, whether it's your activists, everybody has had an opportunity to engage with our candidates. And now the speeches that they'll be giving is a culmination of that process. They've been canvassing people across the country in all the provinces. They've been canvassing different delegates. They've had their debates. And now today, that will be a culmination of that. And they'll be making their final pitch to delegates ahead of the votes.
And we can't wait to hear what they have to say. We've been waiting all day. Greg, speaking about delegates and robust engagement, we had some constitutional amendments happening on the floor. As presiding officer, are you happy with the way Congress is going so far, or are you completely stressed out?
Am I allowed to be both, Nancy? So yes, I am very happy about the way that Congress is going. We spoke about the opening ceremony in our first segment, but I think you saw the DA at its very best at the beginning of the constitutional amendments, and then it carried through, because we discovered that there might have been a little bit of a signal interference from all our TV cameras here, and we were worried that one delegate might not be able to use their voting device, and we then immediately changed to a system of red and green cards. And that happened literally in a minute, and the whole process carried on seamlessly because A, we are entrenched in our democratic values, nobody must lose their vote, and B, we had a plan B, and in fact we had a plan C as well. So being prepared and being well prepared for Congresses and constitutional amendments is something we pride ourselves in.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that by the changeover. I thought the process was very well handled by Kevin Milam. He has a lovely style, but he also got the delegates to understand what we were doing. It was actually very interesting to see the red cards or the green cards, depending on whether people were voting one way or the other.
Yeah.
And what was encouraging there was that I think we voted very sensibly as a party, because the lead that was given by the Constitutional Review Committee and recommendations was very much followed by the delegates. So it shows they are voting responsibly. And in many, many cases, we're getting near 100% majority. So there's a lot of unity in the party right now. Where there was a very interesting debate, the hall was evenly spread. And so there were some tasty resolutions as well on those constitutional amendments. So I think delegates have actually quite enjoyed this very slick way of doing things and very, very rapid processing of our constitutional amendment process. I think it's been a great success.
Yeah.
And
Greg,
success comes because we are well prepared.
Exactly.
Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C.
Plan C.
Sir, if I can just jump back to you. I'm looking forward to the speeches that are going to be delivered. But those that are contesting other positions, did they also get an opportunity to address Congress?
Yeah, so you would remember that on Thursday we had federal council, because of course the federal leader and the chairperson and the 3 deputies are voted for by Congress.
Yes.
The chair of federal council and their 3 deputies are voted for by federal council. So we had a federal council meeting on Thursday where the candidates that are running for the deputies, because the chair of federal council is not contested, but the other 3 deputies are, and those candidates were able to address federal council, who are the delegates that will be voting for them. But over and above that, similar to the leadership contest, we've also had debates for the other candidates that are running. In fact, I had sent him some questions to one of the debates, and really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And they were handled online. You were able to register.
Yeah.
You were able to go onto Zoom while you were making your dinner. You could be able to look and see how people were addressing some of the issues that matter to you as an ordinary delegate like myself.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they've had an opportunity to address candidates, to address delegates. They've also had an opportunity, because there's a process in the party where the contact details of delegates are also handed over to those who are contesting.
Yes.
So they've been able to also reach delegates through cell phone numbers, sending text messages, sending emails. So they've had maximum contact with our delegates so that they can really land their offer to them.
Yeah. What I really loved, Kabelo, was the debates.
Yes.
I was glued to my screen for both debates. No other political party does this.
Yes.
In fact, maybe they should, and they'll get better caliber leaders. But can you speak more on that?
Yes, I think you are quite right, and I think one of the most important things is on the issue of internal democracy. And Siviwe explains this thing and emphasizes this thing, that what was most important for us, you cannot be talking about democracy outside when you don't have democratic processes within your organization. And I think when you looked at and you listened to the debates in the constitutional amendments, robust, you had an opportunity, each and every one had an opportunity to cast their vote whichever way they want. And what is even more important is that internal democracy says you are not voting as a structure. You will see patterns. You will go where the delegates from the Eastern Cape are sitting. It's not a sea of red because the structure is saying no to a particular amendment. But individuals are given the power, the autonomy to vote according to what they feel. And I think that's very important because that's not what you see in other political parties. We just had elections within the ANC, where you never had an opportunity to see Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as well as Ramaphosa sharing a stage, debating each other on what is the vision and what they want to carry through. In other political organizations, leaders are appointed. And if you didn't do a nice hairstyle or maybe you didn't put the right perfume, you get fired because it was not internal democracy. You are appointed by an individual. And it happens, many organizations that start off on this wrong footing, oftentimes they actually do not survive beyond the 5 years or however many years, but because internal democracy is important. What is even also interesting is that in the Eastern Cape, we just had a Congress, the EFF had a Congress, and this is quite interesting. They had a Congress, beautiful, curated, and they elected leadership. The national or federal leadership or the central command was not happy with the composition. Congress elected. The national leaders came in and said, we don't like the composition. And they changed the composition, the internal democracy. And it's important that these internal cultures, Nestle, remember you take them to your government.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's important that you first embrace internal democracies, practice it to the T so that we know what we are voting for. And the Democratic Alliance, I think, has shown many, many times that we uphold internal democracies and where we govern as well. Sometimes we want to go left. If the people say we want to go right, we respect the outcomes of democratic processes. And I think that's very important.
I certainly, Nazi, would have loved to hear NDZ asking President Cyril Ramaphosa about his dollars in his couch. And if I was NDZ, I would have certainly insisted on a debate, Greg, so that I can hear from him exactly why it is that he's fundamentally opposed to a bank account and why he's stuffing dollars in a couch instead of going to Capitec like the rest of us.
Right?
See in action, and like Abello have indicated, there's political parties, there's no action, no congresses, leaders are appointed. Greg, this Congress is an example of the concept of democracy. What is your thoughts on it?
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're actually entrenching democracy in two ways, Regan, because not only are 2,000 people going to be passing constitutional amendments or otherwise, resolutions otherwise, and most importantly, electing our leadership. Well, we need to remember that by far the majority, 90% of those 2,000 people are themselves elected and went through a democratic process to be here in the first place. And so I'm very proud that our caucuses at local government level have elections to elect their delegates to Congress. And the same as our branches around the country choose their delegates that they want to represent them here. And so the branch election process for me is the most fascinating thing. We must be the only party that actually has regular congresses like this. Some parties don't have congresses at all. But we also say at least 45% of our Congress delegates must come from non-public rep ranks. And so what it means is that the whole voice of South Africa is actually heard at our Congress. And we elect people from urban areas, from rural areas, some of the places in the country that many people wouldn't even have heard of before. And we give extra points in the ranking system for the non-public reps that come here if you have started a branch in a ward that's actually been won by another party, for example, the ANC. And so we not only represent democratically the people that vote for us, we also represent people that we would like to vote for us, particularly in 2024. So really, I think it's very hard to be more democratic than this. We have it every 3 years, no matter what, even in a COVID pandemic. And I challenge other parties who have never had a Congress to do the same.
Yeah. Kathy, Greg mentioned that we have 2,000 delegates attending this weekend. But for those at home, how can they join the conversation online?
Nazli, that's something that makes the DA Congress so special. we actually invite South Africa in. We're inviting you in to be part of a conversation, to chat with us in the comment section and to make sure you know what's going on. We're not hiding anything. We're inviting you to join us in our Congress, but more importantly, to join us on our road to taking the ANC out of power. So make sure you share our YouTube link and follow us on Facebook and the links on Twitter as well, so that we can make sure everybody in South Africa knows what the DA Congress is about.
Yeah, we are heading to the Union buildings come 2024. Kabelo, what will you be taking back home to your community, to your wards there in the Eastern Cape from this Congress this weekend?
My T-shirt, my free T-shirt, Congress T-shirt. Always grateful for those when you attend congresses and the freebies that come with it. But I think what was most heartening was how every speaker that spoke here and the resolutions that have been tabled are about gearing the Democratic Alliance into the union buildings. And I think that's the most important thing. Vision 2024, putting or being at the center of that majority that will be taking over the government in union buildings. And I think that's the most important thing. And secondly, having listened to the debates and the discussions in the build-up to Congress and the messages from various candidates, it is the caliber of leaders that we are going to come out with here is going to be a strong leaders that are going to reaffirm the commitment of the Democratic Alliance to its values. The only values that we know, because we know where we govern very well. But the only values that we know can take South Africa forward. And I think those are the most important things. But what was also important, Nestle, is that every single person aware of how important these elections are, have encouraged individuals who are eligible to vote to ensure that they are registered to vote. And I think that's the most important thing. You have moved in the previous elections or there is demarcation, you need to ensure that you register to vote for the next elections, because these elections are going to be the most important elections for South Africa.
This election is going to be vital. We are able to remove the ANC from the union buildings.
Yes.
And Greg, you spoke earlier about the voting process.
Yes.
I'm fully persuaded that we could be voting for the next president of our country.
Yes,
Are you
yes,
able to tell
yes,
our viewers
yes.
once again how the voting process will actually work?
Yes, Regan, absolutely. So the voting will work tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Every delegate will have by then received a link to a system called OpaVote, which will be SMS to them. We verified all their telephone numbers this morning, so we know it's only going to actual delegates in Congress. They'll also get a code, which will enable them to access that link. And the moment they drop in their code, their ballot papers will pop up. That will remain open until 9 o'clock, so they'll have 3 hours to vote. If anyone has any difficulties whatsoever for any reason, they can come to Congress and join us. There's a help desk where there'll be 100 laptops and 30 staff members to assist them in that voting process. So in 2020, we did this right around the country, and I'm very proud that not a single delegate that wished to vote was denied that opportunity. We had 100% voting from the people that wished to cast their vote. I want to emphasize again that the system is very secure, it can't be hacked, and there isn't any way whatsoever to trace the fact that someone has voted to how they voted. So we know who's voted in the same way that the IEC will know who's pitched up to vote at a by-election, for example, because you get crossed out of the voters' roll. In the same way, we don't want people to vote twice, so you can only use that code once. But we don't know how each individual candidate or delegate, has voted, and that's the security of the system. I sort of finally emphasize that we don't all have to vote here. Many delegates, when they receive their link and their code, sometime before 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, can exercise that choice to vote in the quietness of their hotel room or their B&B or their own house if they live in Gauteng. But if they wish to come to Congress and experience the vibe of voting, they can do that as well. And the voting will be done electronically, as will the counting be. There will be no human error involved. It will all be done in a way that's foolproof and give us an accurate result.
Yeah. Greg, I mean, I just, if I can jump in here, I know we had previously spoken about the efficiency of the OpaVote system and how effectively, once it's got all the data that it needs, it can calculate results within minutes. So within a half an hour, you can have your results. Whereas other political parties, ballots go missing, it takes days to count, there's now space for interference. Why is this important for an integrity of the process?
Well, we obviously want to have a result that we can all believe in, and that every candidate will feel is a fair reflection of the people that actually voted for them. So we don't want ballots to go missing. We don't want ballots to be spoilt. One of the beauties of this system is that you will not be able to submit your ballot until you filled it in correctly, which is very important on our ranking voting. For example, we have the deputy chairperson of federal council. There are 3 vacancies there and 7 candidates. For the deputy federal chairs, also 3 vacancies, but 8 candidates. And so every candidate will be ranked by the delegate from their most preferred candidate to their least preferred. And what that means is that's a lot of capturing that has to be done by human beings. It could take us an entire day, because if you look at all the elections we're having on Sunday, we would have to capture 21,050 entries. This system will do it for us automatically. And for the leader election, where there's only 2 candidates and 1 vote, that result will be available in seconds. So it's very, very efficient. It enables us to have multiple elections. It enables us to finish our Congress in 2 days, and it rules out the possibility of error, because OpenVote will make sure that your ballot is correctly filled in before you can submit. So it's the 21st century way of doing things. The DA's always got to be in this century and not in the last one.
Ahead of the curve, innovative, doing the most to move forward. Greg, almost every position is being contested this weekend. What does that mean for the DA?
I think it's a very good sign of the health of our internal democracy. It's not like people feel they shouldn't contest or they're afraid to contest. Anybody can put up their hand and do so. And we have 8 candidates, as I said, for the Deputy Federal Chair, 7 for the Deputy Chairpersons of Federal Council. The Federal Chairperson is 3 candidates, and we have a contest for leadership. And I also think it says something else. I think it says that a lot of people in our party now realize we're on the brink of doing something really special next year, and they want to be part of that experience, and they want to make a contribution, and they want to stand for leadership position to drive that process forward. I'd be worried if the positions weren't contested. It would show a democracy that's stale and not succeeding in barren soil. This shows us our democracy is very vibrant and it's growing internally in the DA.
I suppose we're not like other political parties where you get, inaugurated or coronated rather as a leader, and I can just pick Nazli as my deputy.
Thank you.
Because she's got a nice smile.
I accept. I just got a promotion, guys.
That is indeed excellent to hear. The DA gets things done, but we also get it done right. For those that have just joined us, follow us on our social media pages so that you don't miss out on any of the action coming up next. Share your thoughts, ask your questions by using the hashtag DA Congress 2023. Sir, if I can jump directly back to you at this particular point. There's a large media contingent here. I heard a figure of over 400. Why is this significant?
Look, I think there's a lot of interest in this Congress. I think, one, because firstly, it's the largest Congress we've ever had in our history. In fact, earlier on, I was having a conversation with my predecessor of many, many years ago, Douglas Gibson, who was telling me a story about how back in the day, I think a long time ago, I think during the DP days, they'd organized a Congress at a primary school. And so I think there were about like 400 delegates, and so they could all fit them there. And today we have 2,000 delegates that have come from across the country. And so one, I think because of the size, so I think it speaks to the size of the organization. I think the country takes us seriously because we are not only just an opposition party, but we're also a party in government. So some of the things that we resolve here, some of the things that we make decisions about here can be translated and seen where we govern. Particularly, let me make an example. For instance, when we talk about our alternative on energy, for instance, on the energy crisis in South Africa, that's something that we are seeing translated in places where we govern. For instance, in Stellenbosch, in the city of Cape Town. So all of a sudden, the DA is not just an opposition party, it's now a party of governance where you can start to see some of where it's heading in terms of the direction being translated where we govern. And I think that's where people want to hear it here and hear it first. Where is the DA going? But more importantly, I think there's been a big interest in this particular Congress because of its importance ahead of 2024. Because as somebody said here earlier, we know that the people who are elected here tomorrow, the leaders who are elected here tomorrow, are going to be the people who are going to be negotiating a new formation of a new government for us in 2024. If the research, and Greg knows a lot more about this, but if the research is to be believed that the ANC is polling below 50%, and even in some instances below 40%, that presents a huge opportunity for the DA. And all of a sudden, we are not just an opposition party holding a Congress, we are now a real contender for people who can really be in the union buildings, setting the direction, a new direction for the country. So I think there's a recognition of that, and I think it's reflected on the people that are here today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Siv. Greg, I want to take us back, just not way back, just a little bit back, to talk about the candidates again.
Yes.
Do they have any other opportunities before voting is closed?
Indeed they do, Naz, and that's probably the highlight of our session this afternoon. Worth remembering that the 3 candidates for federal chair did debate online a few days ago, as did the 8 candidates vying for the 3 federal chair deputies. They've done that. And of course the 2 federal leadership candidates did debate themselves on Monday for an hour. But they have a final opportunity to convince delegates, and that will be in about 20 minutes after lunch when we finish working through our voting explanations and how that will all work out. I'll be joined on stage with my presiding officers, as well as Mpopalatsi and John Steenhuisen. There will be a Toinkos, and then there will be 5 minutes each to address Congress, and that will be, I think, the last opportunity they'll have to address Congress as a whole, and then we go into the Sunday voting.
Greg, sorry, Daz, if I can jump in here.
Please go.
So what is the coin toss meant to do, Greg?
Well, again, it's an illustration of our principles of fairness. I can't decide that A should go first or B should go second. We like to leave those things up to chance, up to random selection. And the only thing that's been arranged is that Mpopalatsi will call when I toss the coin up. That's been agreed between her and John Steenhuisen. But the way that coin decides to fall, that's left a 50-50 chance. And I think Congress is going to enjoy that. The height of moments like winning a toss before a cricket match. Who gets to bat first?
Exactly.
It's going to be like that.
Steve, you weren't in the last panel, but we blessed the coin that Greg will be
Was
using.
that the actual coin?
Yes, it was.
We've
I want to
literally
add one thing,
seen,
Reagan, please.
we've
Coin
seen
tosses
this
have been
coin.
good for us. Because when we did heat it in Modi Modi Mupukong,
Yes.
a coin was tossed. Let me try that again. A coin was tossed, and Marlene van Staden, who's our mayor now, called correctly. She called tails. And it came down with the Impala, and she looked at it and she said, Daar kyk die Impala vir my. So, coin tosses have been good for us. We'll do more of those.
Let's go back.
And we are excited because Marlene will also be joining us over this particular Congress to share some of her thoughts around the tossing of a coin. I'm reminded that I'm listening to Greg, I'm listening to Saviwe, and we are blessed with a high caliber of leaders in our party. I was at school when Helen Ziller visited our high school, and then I had the opportunity to actually serve with her in the provincial parliament in the Western Cape. Kabelo, we've been blessed with so many leaders. But what makes a good leader?
It will be remiss of me to mention something. So whilst we were in the waiting room, one of the ladies who's serving asked, "Is that not a mayor?" So I said, "Yes, it is a mayor." Says, "But where are the bodyguards?"
Sure.
And I think this is something. And you look around, you've got members of parliament, you've got a lot of people that other people ordinarily, when you go to certain congresses, people have bodyguards. They are even using government resources, state resources, to go to party political congresses. And I think it was a significant thing listening to a person who's making an observation, who's saying, I have not seen a single state resource being used at your Congress, yet you guys are in government in different places. But a good leader, over and above, and I think that is what we have, a good leader walks the talk. A good leader ensures that they are anchored in our values. And one of the most important things, and I mean, you look at some of the guys, when they speak, when they share their thoughts, they are anchored in our values, the Democratic Alliance values. And I said earlier that these are not just values. These are the values that we know for sure are values that build South Africa, they build communities, because wherever we apply them, they build communities. Leaders who listen. Leaders must be able to listen. You know, earlier it might have been offline because it was constitutional amendment, but when Kevin proposed something, our chairperson for constitutional amendments proposed something, and he put it down to the delegates, and the delegates actually voted to the other side. So leaders must be able to listen, and even in small instances, we actually do not use or abuse you don't abuse your power, but you listen to the people that have elected you in. And lastly, you must get your mandate from the people. We have been talking and contrasting that Greg might be the presiding officer. Greg might not agree, by the way, with the coin toss. But unfortunately, democratic processes dictate that he must consult others and it must be put to a vote in some instances. So people must have a mandate from the people. Even Greg himself did not appoint himself, or somebody said, no, we want Greg to be the presiding officer. So a leader must have a mandate from those that they lead to ensure that they support, they enjoy good support from those they lead as well.
Yeah, thank you everyone. And speaking of good leadership, I hear that Kwena has one of the DA delegates here at Congress, Tammy Jackson, ready on the floor of Congress. Is that right, Kwena?
Thank you, Naz. Thank you, Regan. I'm glad to be back with you here on the Congress floor. As you can see, delegates aren't inside their seats anymore as we've broken for lunch, but I thought that it would be a perfect opportunity to interview one of our delegates from the Western Cape, Tammy Jackson. Tammy, how does it feel to be at Congress so far? Can you describe the environment, the excitement?
So I am incredibly excited to be at the DA's Federal Congress at the Gallagher. Today I came all the way from the Western Cape, and I'm here with every other delegate who, all come from diverse parts of the country. The feeling inside the room is incredibly electric, it's optimistic, people are excited to be here, and it's significant in that the last time we've had an in-person Congress was in 2018 in the city of Tshwane, and in 2020 we had a virtual Congress as a result of the COVID pandemic. And so I think the fact that people are able to come together once again, face to face, actually connect with each other is quite significant, and I think we've all missed that quite a lot. So it's an amazing atmosphere here. We've had people performing earlier on. We sang the national anthem. We had some contentious debate happening around some of the constitutional amendments, for example. We had brilliant speeches from some of our young mayors in other parts of the country, like Cape Town, Umgeni, Midvaal, and so forth. We had leaders in the party address us as well. And so I think this is only the first day of Congress, and I can only imagine that it will, be much more exciting and productive tomorrow.
Tammy, you've even gotten me excited about being here, and I'm very excited for the rest of the weekend. Tammy, tell me, you traveled all the way from the Western Cape to be here. Why did you feel like your role here was so important?
So as per the DA's constitution, the Federal Congress is the highest decision-making body inside the party. The Federal Congress meets once every 3 years. And so Federal Congress really is a unique opportunity for all of us as party members, delegates, public reps, or even just observers to come to Congress and actually give input on matters that not only affect the party internally, like our constitutional amendments, for example, but it's also an opportunity for us to vote on and discuss very important resolutions that essentially influence our party's policies, what we advocate for in public, and also what we aim to achieve when we are in government. And so Congress is very important as it brings people together from all parts of the country, from different provinces and regions, and we get to make input on very, very important items. And of course, you know, as the DA, we take internal democracy very, very seriously. If you look at political parties in the rest of the country, like the EFF, like the Patriotic Alliance, they, like the Good Party, they all have demigods as leaders. There are hardly ever congresses. People don't elect people to serve. Here we have a regular turnover of leadership all the time, where people are democratically elected and mandated to take the party forward. So Congress is really a very, very important event in the DA.
No, thank you, Tammy. I'm glad that you mentioned ANC proxy parties such as the PA that have been causing havoc in municipalities across the country. What are your thoughts on these proxy parties?
So look, a few years ago, we were all very optimistic about the idea of coalitions in South Africa. And the reason why we were optimistic is because it was a new idea. And the ANC didn't really give us any reason to be optimistic about the future. And so, of course, as people engaged in politics, as citizens, we were looking for an alternative. And of course, we saw other parties as being that alternative. Unfortunately, the last two elections and the last few years have actually showed us and proved to us that smaller parties aren't necessarily good for coalitions. In fact, the evidence show us that they have caused massive instability in some of our municipalities across the country. A very obvious example of this is what has been happening in the city of Joburg, what has been happening in Tshwane, where the PA has essentially started making backroom deals with parties like the ANC in exchange for positions for themselves, like MMC positions, and in return give power back into the hands of the ANC. And this really is a betrayal of voters, because people vote for parties like the PA and the Good and all these other smaller parties with the intention of them bringing new ideas into the space. Unfortunately, reality has shown us that they are nothing more than proxy parties for the ANC, and that they are essentially, Trojan horses, and that they are really just there to mislead people, and that the better alternative, I would say to anyone watching this, is for people to put their differences aside with the DA and vote for us next year, because the DA is the only party that is strong enough and big enough to actually unseat the ANC and take the country into a different direction and change the trajectory.
Thank you, Tammy. I want to get back to you on this topic. However, I've seen that Bax is here. Sorry for putting you on the spot, Bax, but obviously Bax is our Shadow Minister of Basic Education. He's been doing a lot of work in Parliament to fight against the eradication or for the eradication of pit toilets. Bax, how are you enjoying Congress so far?
Look, Gwena, Congress is electric right now because we are taking decisions that are going to change the country for the better. Heading to 2024 national government elections, where we will be at the center of government or governing coalition. So the decisions we're taking today about policy is very important because it's going to change the lives of South Africans. And part and parcel of the work that we do, like you've mentioned, is to ensure that there's no other child as young as 4-year-old that has to die in a pit toilet. And it's only the DA that can make sure that our schools are safe. We'll build infrastructure that is conducive for learning and ensure that children can pass and change the circumstances of their birth at home. And this Congress is taking those massive decisions, and it's doing so because the DA is the only strong alternative party that can change this country for the better.
No, thanks, Bax. Now, I know you were a councillor in Nelson Mandela Bay, and so you also have a lot of experience with coalition governments. What would your message be to the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay, but also just the residents of South Africa as a whole in the run-up to the 2024 elections?
Look, the message is quite simple, that South Africans, may you please unite behind the Democratic Alliance. It is the only credible alternative to ensure that the basic services, even in metros like Nelson Mandela Bay, are actually delivered. Because those basic things, such as ensuring that we get rid of corruption and we use the money to make sure that there's filling of potholes, there's water, running water in our houses, sanitation is clean, and there's a creation of jobs. And it is only the DA that can deliver a better future for South Africa. We're the only party that is strong enough with the right policies, and we've demonstrated where we govern in the Western Cape, in other municipalities around the country, that where the DA govern, life is better and we get things done.
No, thank you. I'm glad that Bax touched on where we govern in the Western Cape, because Tammy Jackson is in fact a councillor in the city of Cape Town. Would you be able to tell us some of the things that you've achieved as a city with an outright majority?
So I'll give a very important statistic that was actually released in February. So if anyone perhaps saw the latest unemployment report that was released in February, it showed us that 197,000 jobs, of all the new jobs that were created in South Africa, of those 197,000 jobs, 169,000 of those 169,000 jobs, 167,000 of those jobs were created in the DA-run Western Cape. That means that where we govern in the Western Cape, we've been able to contribute over 98% of all new jobs in the last few months of the fourth quarter of 2022 in the entire country. That is an incredibly significant achievement. And really, what does that tell you is that where the DA governs, we are implementing pro-poor policies. We are attracting investment from across the world, where people are actually choosing to invest where the DA governs and not elsewhere in the country, because we've been able to be so excellent at service delivery in parts of the country like Cape Town, for example. More businesses are choosing to open up shop in Cape Town. We have more entrepreneurs in Cape Town. We are providing more support for indigent residents in Cape Town. The list is endless, and if anyone does not believe what I'm saying because the news is that great, I would encourage you to go look at the budget that we just tabled on Wednesday afternoon in our City of Cape Town Council. And in that budget, you can see what we've been able, where we are putting our money, and how that is actually impacting the growth, the economic growth of the city.
98% of jobs created. Ayeye, DA, ayeye. Now, both of you are young people in politics. Why do you feel like it's important for you as a young person to be here at Congress, and why do you feel like it's important for you as a young person to be in politics?
Look, you might not be interested in politics, but politics is definitely interested in you. We see it in our homes every day. We have blackouts. Our parents can't cook dinner for us at night. Secondly, even when we have to study at night, we have to use a candle to study. Politics has got into our homes. You find that a lot of us graduate and leave school, but we're still unemployed. 7 in every 10 young South Africans are unemployed. They've given up looking for work, and for them, they are suffering. They're in poverty, yet there's rising cost of living every single day, meaning the bags that our grandparents and our parents take back home is less than it was before. So it's important for young people to understand that you must be in the arena to make a contribution to change our country for the better. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we've got good education so we can go change the circumstances of our birth. We want to make sure that we've got a government that is able to create a conducive environment for us to find work, create jobs, enhance entrepreneurship. But more so than anything, make sure that the money that is meant to be spent on basic service delivery is spent on that and not in the fat pockets and the stomachs of the current ruling party. So young people have got a responsibility to make sure that they participate in our democratic process of electing a government that cares about them, that can change their lives for the better. And that is why it's important for me to be in this arena and be in politics and make a contributions to policies that will shape our country and change our lives and our opportunities for the better.
Tammy?
Look, Bax pretty much mentioned everything, and he said something very important which speaks to actually being in the arena. As a young person, if you do not participate in politics, what you are doing is you are giving power away to other people to make decisions on your behalf that affect your life. When you choose not to vote, you are impacting the opportunities that you are able to get, whether or not you're going to get that NSFAS funding, whether or not you are going to get health care from your local clinic, whether or not you'll be able to afford bread, milk, rice in a few weeks' time. All of these things is political. And so if you do not participate in that process, you essentially give power to other people to make those decisions on your behalf that actually impact your life. But also, Kwena, I want to mention the fact that our democratic participation in South Africa isn't looking that great at the moment. And I want to use this opportunity to say to young people that next year is going to be an incredibly important election for our country, where we actually have an opportunity to bring the governing party below 50%. If you look at the last election, our turnout was about less than probably 12 million people. I speak under correction, but that's the stats I saw online. That is absolutely poor, given the fact that we have a population of over 60 million people. There are more people who stay at home on election day than what there are people who vote for the ANC. And that is something that every single person needs to know. So really, there is a real chance for us to usher in a new government next year. And all it takes is for you to have that courage and go and stand in that queue at your local voting station and place your cross behind a party that will not sell out your vote and give it to the ANC. The only party that actually cares for you as a young person, and that is the DA.
Thanks. Now, the theme of this Congress is a strong DA to build a better South Africa. In closing, what would your final words to the people of South Africa be?
Look, my final words is this. Do not weaken the DA by giving support to parties that will ultimately give the ANC your vote, that will put us back to the position that we're in today. That is why it's important to build a strong DA, support a strong party like the DA with a proven track record of changing things for the better, of getting things done that changes the lives of people every single day. And to go out in 2024 unashamedly and go vote for change and go vote for a party that will deliver for you and not deliver for their own siblings, their own family members, their own friends, but a party that cares about you, South Africans. We've got the policies to get things done in South Africa. There's nothing that we can't fix in South Africa that is wrong in South Africa with what is right in South Africa.
Thank you, Bex. Tammy, final words to the people of South Africa?
My message is actually quite simple. To every resident, to every citizen of the country watching this, pay attention to what's happening in your local municipality, especially if it is one that has a coalition government. Watch the smaller parties and the decisions that they are taking in those municipalities, and see what they are voting for and whether or not they are actually giving votes back to the ANC. That in and of itself will show you what they are capable of doing at a national level if you entrust them with your vote again.
Thank you, Bex. Thank you, Tammy. Two young people that are having a massive impact on this country and a massive impact in the DA. Nasli, Regan, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Kwena. Thank you, Tammy and Bax. We are looking forward to seeing all the great things that young people will be doing in this country. Joining us now is our interim DA Federal Youth Leader, Nicholas Nyati. Aware, Nicholas, how's it going?
Hi, Nasli.
Nicholas, tell us, how excited are you to be here?
Look, I'm very excited, Nasli, not just to be in this Congress venue with beautiful South Africans, but also be joining you guys. I mean, you make this thing look so nice. I've been praying that I can also join this beautiful panel. So I'm very excited.
Nasli, can we get Nicholas to give a shout out to all his friends in Kirkwood quickly? Come on.
Nicholas, earlier on when you were delivering a speech, the atmosphere, the excitement was palpable. How do we get more young people involved and to actually take hold of the excitement that will lead to them becoming active citizens?
Look, I was just a vehicle. That speech was not me speaking. It was actually young South Africans whose cries have not been heard for a very long time. So what you listened there was the hopes and aspirations of young South Africans. People who are looking at home and saying, we need hope in this country, and as young people are willing to step up. So that was just a reflection of what we are going to be doing in 2024, not just to deliver speeches, but to actually make our voice heard as young people. To the ANC government, they will hear the roar of the young lions.
Currently, we've been speaking about young people. Let's just be honest. This panel is filled with young people, so we are a little bit biased when it comes to young people.
Although Regan and I are a bit on youth and our side.
You still fall in the category.
Honorary youth members, welcome. Kadli, do you agree with what Nicholas is saying?
Nazni, I agree wholeheartedly with what has been said by Nicholas. And I think something that really excites me is there's hope in the air. Like we as young people, if I think of myself, I grew up under ANC government. You know, I've been seen having always hoping for more, listening to a Sona because I love politics, listening to a budget speech and always hoping for things are going to change, things are going to improve. But it doesn't because we've been disappointed by the ANC time after time after time. But now, for the first time ever in our democratic history, we have a chance to vote the ANC out and actually take power and give human dignity back to South Africans. And that makes me very hopeful for this country.
And I think what's even more important, I think Nicholas now in one of his mentions there, and I mean, Severe says we might be on the side of youth and Dala, and I think this is important.
In the ANC Youth League, we are very
You have a long time to go.
Exactly.
And I think we also need to also take what encouraged us as young people in the Democratic Alliance to get involved. For you to be in your 30s to say I'm already old, and you know the amount of things, because again, if you've got the talent, if you've got the strong will, it doesn't matter. If you want to contribute to changing South Africa, just do it. So, and I think it's here. You've got years and years, probably more than 50 years of experience in politics amongst young people who have not even reached 40. And I think this is where it's important, even young people, for them to understand that they can do it. It's here. They can see it on the panel.
I mean, KB, I mean, just to on that point, I mean, so here's Carly, who was a university student, and she started working on her own TikTok. She has a passion for politics. Just started getting really interested in politics, and started talking about, active citizenry in a way that young people could understand, and use the platform that young people were accessing, and saying, here's TikTok, I can give you bite-sized news, and in a bite-sized way, in a way that you can consume easily. The point I'm trying to make by that is that you don't have to be elected in a leadership position to lead in your community, to get involved in your community, to change the course of our country. It's ours to lose and to ruin in 2024. And that's what she did. And for me, I mean, as a young woman who was like, well, I'm going to show other young people what it is, what is this all about, and has done remarkable work.
Yes, can I just come in 2 minutes? There's a late friend of mine, Luto Jetsokutela. He wrote a poem. He gave us the marching orders. He said, the midnight oil must keep burning. Burn the midnight oil. In his poem, he says, those who dance must dance. Those who sing must sing. Impepo must make sense. Whatever corner you are in, what we need to do is to work together in order to remove this disease. And the disease has been diagnosed. It is the African national criminals. So I want to say to young people, whether we say klabino, mamela mapiano, whether we say kawin, whether we are sangoma, but let's keep the midnight oil burning and remove this disease that is the ANC.
So we actually received a very interesting question from a young person asking what is the role and duties of the DA leader?
Yeah, so I mean, so we're about to very shortly, as you can see, as the viewers at home can see, where our delegates are coming back from lunch, and we're going to be proceeding with proceedings. And now what we're going to have is our two candidates that are contesting for leadership, and really they're going to be putting their vision to the delegates here. But it's an important role, Regan, because as a federal leader, yours is a coordination and a leadership role of the organization throughout the country. So there's caucuses in municipalities, in small towns you and I have probably never heard of. There are caucuses in Tshwane, and every single, whether it's a DA government, whether it's a caucus, whether it's DA members, whether it's a branch, you are politically responsible and accountable for the entire organization. But most importantly, the person who's elected tomorrow is going to be very key in how we proceed in 2024 and whether or not we grow in 2024.
Yeah.
And as we've been saying, it's going to be very important for the DA to grow in its numbers, to grow in its electoral vote share, so that we can really bring down the ANC and bring the DA difference to Kirkwood. I mean, then Emma Orangini, the people need to feel that they are different there.
And I think, viewer, this is important. We need to stop saying we are electing today the DA federal leader. We are electing the president-elect of South Africa. This is it. This is what we are doing here. We're serious about that.
Yes, true. Siviwe, just remind us again, have all the candidates had opportunities to speak to delegates?
Yeah, so as I had said earlier to those of you who are joining us, candidates have had the contact details as per our internal elections. They have to be given the contact details of all the delegates so that they may reach out to them, put to them their offer, they can email them. I certainly have received a number of infographics, videos, people doing TikToks like Connie does. It's really been great. It's really been fantastic. People have been SMSing and really trying to say to delegates, this is what I'm about, this is what I will do if I'm elected. And this is over and above the debates that have taken place. And it's a very important thing for me that in a political party, we encourage debate. I just try to think of some of our opponents, for instance, where you've got a self-chosen leader. I mean, how are you going to, as a self-chosen leader, going to allow anybody in your organization to even ask you relevant questions? Because you didn't have to be elected. You said, well, I'm going to start a party. This party is going to be mine. And I'm going to make policy as I go. And everybody is going to be with me. Nobody will question me. So it's great to be part of an organization that says it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can put up your hands, and you too can be a candidate. And I hope to see some of you in the next Congress, in your provincial congresses, contesting for political leadership. Because again, as a young person, if you are in politics, don't be a bystander. Contest for political power. Let's see you and your decision-making powers right in the middle. Young people need to see themselves represented in all of you. And so I really hope that we can start to see some of you in our congresses. In 2026, I'm going to be looking out. Maybe we'll have 5 federal leader candidates. Who knows? So, yeah.
And we'll be the ones doing the candidate speeches.
I'll be throwing the coin. I'll be tossing the coin.
Got you. We're going to hold Siviwe to that.
Yes, Nes, we spoke about how candidates have spoken to delegates. But I think we must also give kudos to the candidates. They've stuck to the vision of the party. No one has gone out to go and speak very badly about people. They've engaged me as an individual. I mean, you feel important. And not we have spoken to your leader in your province. They want to speak to me. And I'm going to cast my vote for that person and whether they represent a vision that is going to take us into the union builds. And I think kudos to all the candidates in terms of how they've conducted their campaigns.
And we've always had a strong leadership within our party. people that on whose shoulders we are ultimately standing in moving forward. So Saviwe gave young people a challenge that we need to rise up, that we need to stand up. That challenge goes to the younger ones here, Saviwe. But it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time.
So it's becoming very loud in our venue because the delegates are coming back, getting ready for the candidate speeches. But first, we are going to have a lacquer musical item. You guys know my favorite part of Congress. But before we link out, when we hear the music, I'm going to have to stop so we can go straight to the stage. But I just want to ask, Nicholas, we have a big variety, diverse leadership. That's who we are as a party. Can you speak more on it?
Look, I think perhaps let's first define diversity. Diversity is not just based on age, based on race, or based on gender. Diversity is a diverse way of thinking, the diverse ideas that this party brings. And that's what makes the DA special. I think if you look even in terms of the contestation, although all of us want to build a one South Africa for all that is going to be giving us freedom, fairness, and opportunity, but the different ideas that the different candidates are bringing to the table to say, this is how we can reach that South Africa, is what makes this beautiful party special.
Nicholas,
and
I have to stop you. South African Democrats, let's go straight to the stage to your musical performances and then the candidate speeches. Good to
I can feel you alive. But say, good afternoon, South Africa. Sanbonani. My name is Sigi Joanne. To those of you who do not know me, some of you might know me from The Voice South Africa, where I sang this song. Hey, this video keeps on trending, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here today. I'm so grateful. I'm so proud to be African, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm going to sing another song, and I hope that you are going to give me the same energy. Akiri, we want the energy. It's called We Are Growing. We are growing higher and higher. Play it for me, please. Can you use a lane? Uyinkosi amabheke besokuhlanza wona lejisamfone ayiphetha wona thengani we thengona ukusela ayibonza ithethalenza kuyithatha kumemva kwethu thengqethe mhlobam ungabisanenza njalo be a man of greatness now, man of men and men of night. Be a man of wisdom now, man of men and men of night. Be a man of kindness now, a man so strong and tall in mind. In a man that's all make it late, in a thought and let it shine. This is what you are, this is how we must bless now. This is what to be, every kind of man now. This is what to say, with the kind of beat. This is the one to see with the kind of feeling. Okay, I'm about to do my last one. Yay! This one is a celebration song. I know. Izani. I know. If you pass him, my calling up. 1, 2, Ulindela. Where my kobosi. Eonyana wa. Elele ya chata namshan. Ulindela. Benikazi, Emanu Makadi. activity. Fulindlela wemagogos. Fulindlela elumona. I love it, yeah. I know. Elumo, I know, Papa Yini. Elumona, fulindlela wemagogos. Fulindlela, elumona, fulindlela wemagogos. Fulindlela, elumona.
Ladies and gentlemen, Democrats, soon we will hear from our candidates for federal leader of the Democratic Alliance. But first, to brief you on the voting and lead us into the federal leader candidate speeches, please welcome back to the stage our presiding officer and deputy presiding officers.
I don't think so. Okay, there you go. Right. So I don't really need this. You hang on to that for me? No, hang on. So we're going to go through that. Okay. Right. Delegates, we now come to the practical demonstration of our online voting system that we will be using to elect our federal leadership tomorrow. But before we do that, your presiding officers would like to address some of the misconceptions about our voting system. As you will know, our electronic platform is known as the OpenVote voting system. Online voting through OpenVote was approved by Federal Council in 2020. And we made this decision to move our voting systems into the 21st century and to streamline our internal elections. OpenVote is widely used around the world by political parties as well as various organizations. It is a proven, tried, tested, and trusted electronic voting system. Since 2020, we have used OpenVote in federal and provincial congresses and in various caucus elections. We have not experienced any problems with the OpenVote system, nor have we received complaints from voting delegates. Your presiding officers therefore want to state very firmly that not only is this voting system as secure as possible from any attempt to hack it, but most importantly, we can guarantee that your vote will remain secret and that there is no possible way to trace the issuing of your code on the one hand and the actual way you voted on the other hand. Our party, the Democratic Alliance, has always championed internal democracy, which includes the vote in secret, your right to vote in secret. Our party, whether it is our federal council, federal executive, or presiding officers, will never compromise your absolute right to a secret ballot. That is not what we are, and we will never allow it. So delegates, we will now proceed with the OpenVote voting system demonstration. Our 2023 Federal Congress makes use of OpenVote for our leadership elections. Before voting opens, you will receive a voting code sent by SMS to your cell phone. That is now on the screen behind you. You must please keep this vote secret, this code secret, as it guarantees your access to a ballot. And important to remember, delegates, your code may only be used to cast one ballot. You will also receive a secret voting code over SMS. It'll probably come tomorrow on the same SMS, your link, and your code. And you will use this code to vote in our Federal Congress leadership elections. Please note that the code is made up only of capital letters. If there is a big zero, it is an O and not a zero. No zeros, only O's. And I want to repeat one more time. The code is unique to you, and it can only be used to cast one ballot. Please do not share your code with anybody else. Now, if you did not receive a code by 6:10 tomorrow morning, please go to the voting help desk, which is situated out there next to the registration area in Hall 4, out the door and just down the stairs. So how do we now vote? To cast your ballot in the leadership election, you'll be using, as I said, the OpenVote online voting system. To do this, there is only one link to follow, and this will be the link on the screen behind you, vote.dacongress2023.coza. You will follow the link and enter your secret code. Okay? As per a federal executive decision, delegates will be able to vote via their own telephonic devices. However, should you require assistance, you are more than welcome to proceed to Hall 4, where you will be able to make use of a voting booth that will have a voting device available for you to cast your vote. Delegates, we will have 100 laptops in Hall 4 at the voting help desk. So if something goes wrong with your cell phone, you drop it into the shower basin or something like that, don't worry, we'll have 100 laptops available and 30 staff members to assist you. Once you have filled out the ballot, you will then select vote. And if you are happy with the overview of your choices, you can select confirm. And your ballot will then be cast anonymously. So now let's look at a few examples. First one is a ballot where only 2 candidates are contesting a position. It looks like this. And this, of course, is the ballot you will be receiving when you make your choice for our federal leader tomorrow morning. So in a contest where there are only 2 candidates, all you have to do is to select your preferred candidate. Simple. So you're going to click on the checkbox next to the preferred candidate of your choice. In this example, you're going to have a choice between 2 hot drinks, either tea or coffee. And you'll select the checkbox next to your candidate of choice. In this case, your beverage of choice. A ballot where more than 2 candidates are contesting a position looks like this. So in contests where there are more than 2 candidates, you need to rank all the candidates in order, starting from the one you like the most and ending with the one you prefer the least. Okay? So you'll find your most preferred candidate in the list, and you'll click on the add button next to their name to add them to the first position on your ballot. I emphasize again, delegates, that if you find this difficult in any way, just make sure you come to this Congress venue between 6 a.m. and please not too late. Try to get as early as possible. As long as you're here by 9, we will assist you. So now we have another example, South African dishes. So here our choice list is, we're going to add the button braai. We've got shisha nama, we've got babuti, we've got a Durban bunny cha, we've got a Gatsby, and we've got a chakalaka and pap. Okay, so your ballot will look like this if you chose braai or shisha nyama. Then you're going to find your second favorite type of food. You'll click the add button again, and you'll add them to the second position. So this is your second favorite choice, Durban bunny cha. I'm from KZN, and I cannot understand why Durban bunny cha is not the first ballot choice, but there you go. Okay. Then find your third favorite and click the add button, and you'll add that food to the third position. In this case, you've chosen Gatsby. Then your fourth favorite you'll add again by clicking the add button, and you'll add that food to the fourth position. And now we have chakalaka and pap in the fourth position. And then lastly, you'll find your fifth favorite, and you'll click the add button and add them to the fifth position. And now your ballot paper will look something like that. And you'll carry on as you will in the election for the 3 deputy federal chairpersons. There's 8 candidates. You'll have to rank each one of those 8. So carry on until you've added all the candidates to the ballot in your preferred order. But if you want to change the order, you can click and drag on the yellow boxes and move the candidates up and down. And then once you have filled out the ballot, you can click on the vote button. And it will pop up on a screen, such as you are seeing now, showing you the choices you have made. If you are happy, click confirm and your ballot will be cast. And at that point, you will be done. Emphasize again, your ballot will be cast anonymously. Nobody will ever be able to see who you voted for. They will only know that you voted. And that's exactly the same thing that we did in 2021 and we'll do next year. You'll arrive at a polling station, you'll present your ID book, the IEC will find your name on the vote roll and cross you out so that they know you voted. Of course, they're also going to ink your thumb, but the point is the IEC know that you have voted, and that's to prevent you from voting twice. OpenVote's exactly the same. OpenVote will also know that you've used your code, and that prevents you from voting twice on OpenCode, just like you can't go and vote twice at an IEC polling station next year. So again, if you require any assistance or help, or if you need any support, please go to the voting help desk, which is situated next to the registration area in Hall 4, out that door and to the right. And that, delegates, concludes the voting briefing on OpenVote for our election tomorrow. Please may I remind everyone that voting will open at 6 o'clock and it will close at 9 o'clock, 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Right, so delegates, we now come to one of the highlights of our Congress program, the moment you have all been waiting for. We are now going to proceed with our federal leader candidate speeches. So please welcome to the stage our 2 federal leader candidates, Mpho Palatse and John Steenhuisen. Okay. So, delegates, our candidates met yesterday and they have agreed that we will toss a coin in your presence to determine the speaking order. So please come a little bit closer, John and Mpho. Okay, so candidates, you'll see this is the coin we're going to use. This is the Lucky Congress coin. And on this side is a wildebeest. And I'm going to ask you to remember, we're going to call this wildebeest an animal. And then on the other side is the national coat of arms, which we will call coat of arms. So I'm going to flick this, and because we also agreed yesterday it'll be ladies first, Mpho is going to call, and she's either going to call animal when the coin is in the air, not after it's settled on the ground, please, or she'll call coat of arms. Now, if Mpho should call correctly, she will then have the choice whether she speaks first or second. If she calls incorrectly, then John will have that choice. Everybody clear? Yeah. Right. Remember to call now, either animal or coat of arms. Coat of arms. Right, Mpho has called coat of arms. And indeed, it is coat of arms. So Mpho, congrats. You will choose the speaking order. All right, so Mpho has decided she will speak last. That means, John, you will take the podium. Mpho, can I ask you please just to take your position by the cross over there? Then candidates, please remember, you will have exactly 5 minutes to speak. The clock will start running down the moment you do speak, the moment you start. And if you do get to 5 minutes and you haven't completed, there'll be a very loud gong and your mic will be muted. So if either of you have some really special killer lines you'd like to make sure you get them in within your 5 minutes. If you just give us a chance, John, to take our place over there. Once you're ready, please start. No, you must do it.
Fellow Democrats, Sanibonani, It is an honor to stand with all of you today in Gauteng, the next province to be governed by the DA. And today, I ask you to re-elect me as the leader of our beloved party. Since October 29, we've all been on a journey together. We've been working hard together to rebuild the DA. We've defied our critics, and we've come out of election 2021 stronger than ever before. And we are now on track for a record result in 2024, where we must bring the ANC below 50% and rescue South Africa. This is our mission. The DA must and will play a leading role in constructing a post-ANC South Africa. And we must translate our vision of an open opportunity society for all into a realistic plan that all South Africans can resonate with. When I first joined the Democratic Party in 1997, we were under no illusions about the difficulties that lay ahead. We were a 1.7% party, but we knew that to cement our role in the South African political landscape, we would have to put in hard work. And let me tell you, as a councillor for 10 years, I know a lot about hard work. We also knew that only the politics of the long haul would result in the political change, and we knew there were no shortcuts. So today, I can confidently report that our 3 decades of hard work has paid off. And it's through these generations of hard work that we've arrived at a point where we are now just 12% behind the ANC in some of the polling. And just think about the many successes that we have achieved together. We positioned the DA as the only effective opposition against the ANC. Then we reoriented our party to become a party of local and provincial government. And following a setback in 2019, we learned from our mistakes and we got the DA back to winning ways. Democrats, ek is trots om te sê dat die DA is terug en ons is gereed om te wen. En nou is die tyd vir die DA te wees 'n party van die nasionale regering. As the leader of the DA, I'm making 7 pledges to our delegates, and they are getting the ANC under 50% nationally, focusing our communication on issues that matter to voters, ending load shedding, reducing unemployment below 20%, defeating cadre deployment and building a capable state, halving violent crime and devolving more power to provincial and local government. But Democrats, to bring any of our solutions to bear in time to save South Africa, it's time now for the DA to ascend to national government and provincial government around the country. And that's why all other pledges in my manifesto are anchored in this one priority. We must drag the ANC below 50%, and we, the DA, must form the core of a new majority in South Africa. We must show people that we're focusing our attention on their issues, the issues that matter to them. And key to achieving that is installing a blue government that operates on DA values. Democrats, this is where discipline becomes non-negotiable. And in addition to instilling stronger discipline, we must end the damaging practices of slagging off our own party in public. We must ensure that we adopt a strategic direction, and using world-class research, we must identify the issues that matter most to voters and talk about them. By making these the issues of our communication, we've already grown our party substantially since 2019. And with your support and your hard work, we will run the strongest, most proactive and issue-based communication campaign that our party has ever seen. Some may say that my vision of the DA's path is ambitious. I say it is realistic. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that we can do all these things. We fixed the DA. Now it's time for us to lead and fix South Africa. Thank you, Democrats.
Fellow Democrats, fellow South Africans, Victor Hugo's phrase that nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come was very prophetic. It's as though he had South Africa and the Democratic Alliance in mind when he uttered that statement. The idea of the DA, of a liberal Democratic Party governing South Africa has come. Delegates, it is time. Our time has come. But it is now or never. South Africa is on the verge of total collapse. South Africans are now looking for an alternative. The ANC will drop below 40% in the upcoming elections, and the DA must be ready. We've cultivated a brand of good governance, and South Africans agree that where we govern better. But the truth is that we've been experiencing negative growth. Between the 2016 and 2021 local government elections, our party lost more than 1.4 million votes, and a total of 285 of our councillors lost their positions as elected public reps in communities. This, Democrats, is not because our brand is inferior, but it is because of a trust deficit that exists between us and the electorate. And this is what stands between us and our chances of becoming a national government. Everywhere I've been to campaign, people ask us, can we trust you? This Congress is an opportune moment for us to be bold and to once and for all address this challenge. I'm ready to lead the Democratic Alliance to embark on a process of introspection and repositioning from an opposition in Parliament to a governing party in 2024. Some critics ask me, is it not too soon? And I wish to state categorically here without any fear of contradiction, it's not the length of time in a party that determines one's effectiveness. It's not the number of years that counts. It's about capability, experience, and qualifications. Jacob Zuma was a horrible president with all his years in the ANC. Yet Barack Obama, with much fewer years in his party, was one of the best presidents America ever had. I am a medical doctor by profession, and with a wealth of experience in both the public and private sectors. My work as a doctor in Alexandria exposed me to abject urban poverty, leading to my leap from medicine into politics. See, Democrats, politics is not a vocation, it is a calling. I've served as an MMC and executive mayor in the city of Johannesburg, the biggest of all 257 municipalities in South Africa. And my years of experience as a technocrat and as a politician have sufficiently prepared me for the position of DA federal leader. Leading a huge multi-party coalition government in the city of Johannesburg was a necessary preparation for the road ahead. Our country has entered a phase of coalition governance. We need leaders with experience in both politics and governance to keep our governments afloat and protect them from avoidable instability. Our party needs a new leadership that can inspire and galvanize sectors of society behind a new vision, a vision of a prosperous and equal opportunity society for all. We need a leadership that can display moral integrity, that can lead by example and unite the party. We are a party that ascribes to liberal values, and this means we must support and promote free speech, including the right to freedom of choice. As a leader, I will defend the rights of everyone in the party, and I will not lead by fear, because the best form of leadership is leadership by example. I will work closely with our activists and structures such as DA Youth, DA Women's Network, DA Students Organization, as well as other ancillary bodies, empowering them to deliver on their mandate. Public reps, including in rural areas, will have my support. And staff members will enjoy recognition and support as an integral part of the blue machine. Fellow Democrats, we have a stark choice to make, and we can either try to consolidate our base and accept our projected 16% of voter share in 2024, or we can be bold at this Congress and vote for real growth. It is in your hands. I am a Democrat. I believe in our values and principles. I embody what we stand for as a party. I am committed to our cause, and I'm not going anywhere. Vote for me as federal leader. Vote for growth in the DA. Vote for change in South Africa. Viva DA, viva!
Delegates, you have shown great enthusiasm and energy so far, and it is now time for our first award for the best.
This is the 2023 Federal Congress of the Democratic Alliance. Only a strong DA can uphold the values of freedom, fairness, opportunity, and diversity. A strong DA to build a better future. Welcome to the Democratic Alliance's Federal Congress.
There you have it, folks. Some truly inspiring speeches from our leadership candidates. What an exciting moment to be part of history in the making right here at the DA's Federal Congress 2023 in Johannesburg, where we continue our mission to build a strong DA for a better future.
All the candidates have now had their final chance to share their vision. For those of you that are watching, make sure to join the conversation online on our social media pages using the hashtag DA Congress 2023.
Please feel free to post your selfies of yourself, of your fellow Democrats, your friends, family, or even your pets watching Congress 2023. Right now in studio, we are back with our panel, Siviwe and Carly. We are also joined by Matt Cuthbert, Resolutions Committee member, and Chris Papas, the mayor of our Blue Diamond Umgeni, the first DA-run municipality in KZN. Welcome everybody. Let me start off, Chris. How has Congress been so far?
Isn't it just awesome? It's like the vibe, the colors, the people. I don't know where you are if you're not here today. It's amazing. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad that the delegates all made it. It's absolutely perfect. Well done to the team who's put it together.
Yeah, Matt, your reactions? How's Congress been so far?
I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's nice to be back in person. We had a virtual Congress the last time around, and I think it really gives us a nice vibe as we move towards the election. And it's important for us to have this kind of interaction, contesting our ideas, talking about new policies, making sure that we get our machine battle ready as we move towards 2024.
Matt, if I can stay with you, are you able to elaborate further why Congress is significant besides us seeing each other face to face?
So I think the most important thing is that we are not a party that is led under a personality cult. We all have members who have agency of their own. We have ideas that we want to discuss with one another. We have resolutions we want to put forward. And I think it's important for a political party's internal culture if we're able to have these kinds of robust debates. And that's why Congress is so important. Last of all, it's important that the leadership that are elected today have a mandate. it's very, very difficult for a leader to go into a critical election like we have in 2024 if he doesn't or she doesn't have the requisite mandate.
And there are so many political parties that are these pop-up parties where you just have individuals who appoint themselves and appoint their leaders. And this is democracy at work. It's an institution that works for all of us.
Every year, the venue is getting louder and louder. Those candidate speeches injected some energy into everybody. Where to from here?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, as Chris said about pop-up parties, I mean, I don't know what it must feel like to be in an organization where this kind of contestation of ideas, where you're seeing democracy at play, where it's robust, but it's respectful, but at the same time, it's about the contestation of ideas. And for me, what the speeches by the different candidates also showcase that here I am, here's my stall, here's what I'm offering, and the way in which it has been received is something we don't see enough in politics. For me, that shows political maturity of our organization, that people are not throwing chairs here. People are not taking jabs at each other. They're making a case for why you should vote for them, and the candidates and the delegates are listening. And I think it's an incredible culture that we here must all look after for years to come.
I can confirm that no one is throwing any chairs. The chairs are also not fixed.
They're not bolted. They're not bolted. They're not bolted.
Bottles.
You know, if there was a lot more yellow around here, we'd still be doing credentials right now.
And in the DA Congress is all about building a strong DA for a better future so that we can make a difference where we govern and improve the lives of all South Africans come 2024. Talking about making a difference, Chris, you are doing so much. The only blue spot in KZN since 2021. How has that experience been, being called now the mayor of Umgeni municipality?
Reagan, it's difficult. It is difficult. And I can only imagine what it'll be like in national government and provincial governments. But you know, we have to start somewhere. And there's something so fulfilling about seeing a problem and being able to solve it and have a plan and to implement the policies that we work so hard with over here. And ultimately, they change people's lives. They're not just words on a paper, but you can implement them and see the difference. Currently is also in government, and I'm sure it's fulfilling when you can see something that was difficult, something that was broken, and change it fundamentally.
Yeah. Matt, all the incredible things Chris is doing is informed by DA policy. And at Congress, we will be dealing with some of the policies. Why is policy so important?
So people often think that if the DA gets into government where the ANC have previously been in government, that it's a case of a better version of the ANC, and this is what we were saddled with in the past for a long period of time. And the fact is that our policies create clear blue water between ourselves as well as the opposition. And I think it's most important that we understand that where we have policies, it's as a result of our liberal ideology, our principles, our values, and that informs how we are going to govern. We cannot go into a governing arrangement where we are unclear on our values and principles, because invariably you're going to end up with a situation where we're not able to deliver on our mandate by virtue of us not holding those sacrosanct.
And currently we've seen some of these policies being implemented in Stellenbosch.
Yes, Regan. Of course, we as the DA is committed to saving our residents from load shedding. And therefore, in Stellenbosch municipality, we have the solar panels up. We are working on a project to convert methane gas into energy. So we're working great together. And not long ago, we even had Umgeni municipality and Stellenbosch. We are sharing great ideas, DA policy, giving benchmarking, success sharing, in order to see all South Africans get a better government from the DA.
And it's all about collaboration.
And I think, Regan, to your point about DA policies, I think this is why, as we were discussing earlier, there's a great interest in this Congress, because all of a sudden the DA is not just an opposition party, but it is a party in government. So what is decided here, the resolutions that are decided, the policies that are adopted will inevitably find themselves in how we govern, in how we try and insulate members of the public from the devastating effects of rolling blackouts, in how we try and make sure that we get service delivery right. And so I think this is why the DA really is starting to gain momentum in a big way in South Africa, because people are realizing there's a direct correlation between how you vote and how you live. And that's a message that we've got to take to 2024.
And go ahead. You know what the beauty is, what Carly was saying and what you were saying, is that we're not just a party of opposition. We're a party of government in so many different places. So we come into this election saying we've proven what we've done. We've taken our mistakes, we've learned from them, we've honed our skills, and we can bring rapid change to our country, which is what everyone is so hungry for.
Siviwe, I want to go back to you. We spoke about policies and how policies influence what we do, where we govern. Can you tell us about how policy influences the work we do in Parliament?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, a policy development process in a political party may sound very boring and it may sound very nerdish, but it's so incredibly important. And I think Matthew touched on it before, that it becomes the backbone, the blueprint upon which you make decisions. And how lucky we are as an organization that is clear about our policy framework, because it doesn't matter if you are Chris in Umgeni or you are Mayor De Venter in Stellenbosch, or you are Alan Windy in the Western Cape. The reality is that you know exactly how the DA's policies would guide how we perform in government. And so that's what I'm saying, while it may sound very dry, but ultimately it is the backbone of the work of a political party. And so it also influences how we do our work in Parliament. So when pieces of legislation come before us, we are able to vote on particular issues, on particular motions, based on how we know how our policies have been framed.
If I can come in there as well.
Matt?
The thing which is key, which I think Siv touched on, is the fact that it's not just about implementation of the ANC's policies, about really differentiating ourselves and showing that DA difference. If we are serious about wanting voters to come out and vote for us en masse, then we need to make sure that we have an attractive policy offer, and we need to have something that is going to show them in a tangible way how we're going to make their lives far better. And I think that's the critical issue that I feel Siv raised. Moreover, the other issue that I'd like to raise about policies, people say, well, it's a 50-page document, a 60-page document. But I think there's a place for, long policy documents, but also it's about how we as a party communicate that to our voters. And as long as the core principles are there, it's very easy to communicate. And if we look at where we are now as a party, I think we're in a much better position because we don't have those fundamental disagreements. There's this broad consensus among everyone that we know these are the values that we stick to, that we believe in, and I think it just makes it so much more pleasant to be a DA member, and it makes it easier to go out and speak to voters.
And for instance, for me, the most impactful, for instance, policy is the economic justice one, which is one that is very close to my heart, because it speaks to how do we, as a political party, envision how we pull millions of black South Africans who were mostly excluded from economic opportunities. How do we make sure that we're not enriching the few, but we're broadening opportunities? And so you see, we wouldn't be able to make decisions on certain things if we did not have that long policy document that says this is how we would do that foundation. This is how we define, or this is what the proxy of disadvantage is. This is how we would look at who needs empowerment and whatnot. And so that's why, for me, policy is very important.
And earlier on, we heard that more than 30 million people in our beautiful country is experiencing the DA difference in one way or another because we are a party of government. Earlier on, we also heard that out of the 169,000 new jobs in the last quarter, 167 was created in the Western Cape. 98%. Chris, what is your message to the residents of Umgeni, but also to KZN over the next couple of months?
I think it must be clear, in KZN, it's really bad. And people have a choice. For 5 years is a long time to suffer bad decisions. So people need to put these things against each other, to measure them and say, well, I could have this for another 5 years, or I can try something that in other places seems to be working for people. In other places, maybe it's not perfect. We're not. We're a political party. We're made up of people. But there's a difference in the people's lives who are living in Stellenbosch or the Western Cape or Midvaal. There's a difference in the people who are living in Umgeni. So why can't we have that for KZN? And it is so close. It is so close in KZN that there has to be change, just like the rest of the country. And it's there. We can touch it. It's right there.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, the battle for Umgeni, Chris, was a long one. People like Greg Crumbock, who was here earlier, the viewers would remember him. People who he was there right from the beginning. 4 years. 4 years.
18
worked at the project.
18 politics of the long haul.
Politics of the long
We
haul.
just confirm, is it 42 or 46 votes?
We won our municipality by 42 votes. And that means...
I didn't hear you properly.
42 votes.
Every vote
42
counts.
votes.
So every person who sits at home and says, well, my vote doesn't count, or, I'd rather have a brown election day, you're the difference between the change of government and a hopeful future and more of the same. More load shedding, more unemployment, more suffering, more life is demanding. You are the difference. So get out, especially young people. I mean,
Absolutely.
we need to get out, especially young people. We're sitting here because we believe in change. We believe in something better than ourselves, and everyone else can do that.
I would love to continue this conversation. I think we can speak for hours around policy and its importance, but unfortunately we do have to wrap up. Let's get our final thoughts from the panel. We'll start with Matt and we'll work our way that way. Matt?
So I always look back on these things, and I think it's important to look back on history and just see how far the party has come. One, the politics of the long haul, and despite our dogged opposition over a number of years, whether it be in the House of Assembly under apartheid, or whether it be against the ANC regime. It's been a hard battle, but it's been a rewarding battle, I think. And most importantly, we've stuck true to our values and our principles along the way. And I think that eventually our time is going to come, and I think 2024 is that time. We just need to remain confident, do what we can do on our side, and I think it's going to come true.
Ek dink van my kant af wil ek sê, ons regtig baie hoop vir ons land as ons kyk wat hier om ons aangaan. As die DA 'n kongres soos hierdie kan reël, wil ek net weet en sien ek uit om te sien hoe ons hierdie land kan regeer. Daar's meer vir Suid-Afrika. Maak seker jy geregistreer om te stem en kom en stem DA.
Mayor Chris Papas.
Mhlawumbe ngithi kubantu abasha ukuthi ikusasa lakho lisezandleni zenu. Singahlala sikhononda, singahlala kulesimo sikusona. Kodwa uma sisuka sisonke, sithatha isinqumo sithi sesikhathele, ushintsho siyalifuna, siyaphuma ngomningi bethu, siyofaka ushintsho ezandleni kubantu abakwazi ukuletha lo ushintsho, abanomlando yokushintsha impilo zabantu. Sizobona intuthuko eqhaqhazelayo nje.
And I think for me, ndiyakhuthazwa ngumbutho wami, ndiziva ndizidla ngumbutho wami. I mean, seeing the kind of Congress that we've held, yes, it's day one, but for me, it affirms why I'm part of a liberal organization, because I understand its roots and I understand what it's trying to do. Nam njengoChris ndifuna ukuthi kubantu abatsha into yobana asinyanzelekanga into yobana sihlale sisenze into eyi-one, sihlale sisenza sivotele urhulumente ongasikhathalelanga. It's high time that we make different choices. It's high time we understand that the way that you vote and the way that you live are intricately linked. And nam ngumntu omtsha osuka e-Eastern Cape, ndiyayazi indlala, ndiyayazi ukungabi namsebenzi kwabantu abatsha, and I know into yobana that province requires the kind of change that has come to the small town of Umgeni, the small municipalities of Umgeni. If they can do it in KZN, I genuinely believe we can do it anywhere in the country.
That just about wraps it up here today. If you have any questions, please visit www.dacongress2023.co.za, where you can get all the information you need. A big thank you to all our guests throughout the day who joined us in studio, and Kwena doing the most on the floor of Congress. And an enormous thanks to you, our viewers. We look forward to doing it all again tomorrow. Join us at 9:30 a.m. It's going to be an action-packed day.
That's right. Don't forget to keep liking and commenting on social media using the hashtag DA Congress 2023. Tomorrow, we have the big event. The very, very big event. All delegates will be voting for our DA leadership. This includes the federal leader of the DA. Remember, Congress 2023 is all about building a stronger DA for a better future. South Africa, thank you. Inkosi, Baie dankie. We'll be back bright and early, 9:30 tomorrow. See you then. Shop our way.